Hello, Connie. How
Hey,
you doing?
so good. I am so grateful to be here with you both.
We're thrilled to have you. And we were just well, why not before we jump in, why don't you take a moment to tell us about you? You know, who you are, what you do, what you love, what's important to you.
Okay, that sounds awesome. Michelle and Amy, I am completely obsessed with stories. And I am obsessed. You know me, Michelle.
I know it's great. I love the stories. Yeah.
And I'm obsessed with entrepreneur stories, purpose-driven entrepreneur stories. I've been interviewing people for just under a decade, and what I found was these amazing purpose-driven entrepreneurs that give everything that they've got, blood, sweat, and tears, all in. They're experts. They have earned their expertise. They have not learned it. They have earned it. And then I saw that in the midst of this global pandemic, with everything going on, there's so many other messages going on from people that aren't experts, that threw up a website, said they know something about online marketing, said they're experts and they're not. And so my mission in this life is to bring the stories to the forefront of these purpose-driven entrepreneurs that have expertise, because I believe we're at a tipping point in humanity, where we need the messages and the guidance of who I call the greats, people that are on a great mission to lead us where we need to go. And so that's my mission. You know, I'm passionate about goal setting.
I know you are. Yeah.
So I'm excited about this conversation, but that's who I am and what I stand for.
Well, and how does the stories tie to the Women on Fire book that's up there in the background? How does the stories tie to that?
Well, what I've noticed was, and it's part of why I wrote the book, was because I noticed that at times in our journey, whether it's, you know, in a work that we're doing, through a job or through a business, that there comes a point where we feel a call to do something. It's this calling of the heart, and it just won't go away. It's almost, that's why I call it the fire within, because it's that fire within us that's burning us to move forward. It's saying, go out of our comfort zone, do something you feel like you're not enough to do, you don't know how to do, you don't know how it's going to work out, and go do it anyway. And so I felt that within myself, and I saw that journey. And then when I started interviewing these great leaders and these, you know, great entrepreneurs with a great message, really experts at what they do, I saw that was a predictable pattern. They all had that moment of that fire within, that moment that they felt called to do something bigger than they felt capable to do. And that's really, and now my work has always been about that fire within. Now it's just about telling the story behind that fire within, so potential customers and investors can know them and feel them and trust them.
I love the feeling and the trusting part. And Amy's going to want to read that. I actually want to read your book, my laundry list of book lists. And I know Amy's probably, it's like, you're speaking to my soul. Go ahead, Amy.
You're giving me goosebumps in all the good ways. Because this concept of, like kind of what you're here to do. And even if you keep ignoring the nudge, it keeps coming up for you again and again until you pay attention. That's so beautiful. Oh, it makes me so excited. And that, oh my gosh, I am so nervous, but I'm going to do it anyway. I literally just had that conversation like an hour ago of like,
we were talking about Amy's poems. So Amy writes poetry, Connie.
That's amazing.
Yeah. She's got like almost 100 of them posted.
Oh my God.
I started January of 2020.
What?
And I'd never written anything, and I sure as heck wasn't sharing it publicly. And Michelle's like, hey, I think someone needs to see this. I'm like, you think?
She's like, what? I don't know if I like that.
Private as it comes, and like vulnerability wasn't my jam. And I was like, oh gosh, okay, I will. It was very unnerving, but it's that push, and pay attention, and you know, yeah. I am team Connie on this concept.
I love it. And Amy, how you describe it is so beautiful. That's exactly what happens. And it's predictable. It's that push. It's that feeling like, what? Say what now? You want me to do what?
Yeah.
And stretching that comfort zone. And I love how you talk about that we will get nudges until we do it. And I'll tell you, the knocks get louder. I remember a moment when my knock to write that book got so loud, I knew I had to do it, or I would have a consequence that would be very challenging. So the knocks get louder. So grateful those poems are out there, lady.
Yeah, right. And how does the stories tie to the goals? I mean, what's your opinion of that?
Oh man. Okay. So this is a whole can of worms that
I know it is. I love it. I love asking can of worm questions.
Okay. So, I'm obsessed with goals, and I go into the book about how to do these things called fire goals and how to do that. It's really the goal setting that I like to talk about is really how do you set and achieve a goal when you don't feel enough, when you feel totally stressed out and you don't know how you're going to do it and you're crazy busy. So when I was writing my book, I had a baby and a toddler and a preteen at home, and my life was so nuts. I was writing the book on top of my laundry basket, which was unfolded. Of course it was. In my closet, because that was the only quiet place in my house.
That's the only quiet place that you have in your house.
Yeah.
Did you have a locked door? Can you lock the door?
No, I didn't have a locked door. So, it was Operation Be Not Found. That was my strategy for 5 minutes. And so, okay, so that's one aspect to answer your question, Michelle. And then the other aspect, and this is what I'm so fired up about, is that when I started this journey, I suspected that there was something going on. If somebody was crazy enough to take on a goal that they felt like, I don't feel enough to do this. I feel totally inadequate. I don't know how I'm going to do this. I'm so stressed out even thinking about doing this. And which all entrepreneurs and people on a mission face that challenge, right?
I'm not ready, right? I'm not ready. I'm like, oh shit, I'm not ready.
Yes, totally. And so I was like, okay, these people we're not crazy. So what else is going on here? And I suspected that there was a moment in their life when they took a stand for something. I suspected that. And you know me, I'm so curious and I got to know the story. So I'm like, why don't I interview countless entrepreneurs and dive into their story? This is really what I've been doing since COVID hit. So why don't I interview them and ask them very intentional questions, not just about their work that they're doing now, but who they were as a child and what value is important to them. And what I noticed, this is so interesting. What I noticed was there's a moment in time between the ages of 7 to 13 when we face a hard thing. Either it's an environmental thing, like somebody dies or we face a fire, or there's some sort of environmental thing that happens, or somebody happens. We face a bully, we face abuse. There's some sort of
trigger or something
thing that happens. Yes, some sort of trigger.
Event or something.
Exactly. Now what happens is for that person, if they take a stand for a value, they say, I never want someone to feel like this again, or this wasn't right that happened to me. I'm going to help somebody else and to not experience that. When they do that, they're transformed. And what happens is if you can track their story to what they're doing now, the goals and dreams and journey that they have now, it will track back to a moment in time when they're between the ages of 7 to 13. And when they understand and tell that story, their clarity and ability to reach any goal is empowered. It's crazy amazing.
We want to do stories with you too, by the way. I think we haven't done that, but I think it would be really fun to do that.
Yes, absolutely.
And we talked about teasing out your story, right? That would be fun. Yeah, that would be fun.
Totally.
So the goals. So if I understand, if I'm hearing you right, the why behind the goal is getting to what's at the root of it, and then that gives you the passion and the fire. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, and bigger, even bigger than the why, we get to the who of it. And it's who you are and how you've always been meant to do this work. So I bet you, Amy, when we explore your story, there'll be a moment in time, usually when somebody's expressing something like poetry and that sort of thing, a goal around that. Usually there's a moment in time when you can track it back to either you or somebody else not having a voice.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. That's resonating. And so
Mm-hmm.
and it's so powerful when you can track that back, because when you understand your who you are and how you've always been meant to do this work, you've always been meant to fulfill this mission, nothing will stop you. Nothing will stop you.
So cool.
Yeah.
Talk to us about the, oh, sorry, Amy, I cut Amy off. Amy's going like,
No, I was just going to add that, and you're right, it can manifest a couple of different ways. Like, I never want someone else to feel this way, or I observed this and that just struck me as not right. I mean, it can manifest in a lot of different ways.
Yes.
But yeah, it's a well that keeps springing, like, yep, keep going, because that need is universal. My story is unique to me, but the concept globally applicable. And, anything that I could do to help someone else one step further along their path, I'm sure for many entrepreneurs, it's that same desire that keeps you going.
Yeah. Yeah. So brilliantly said.
And so talk to us about the fire goals, like the mnemonic, what it means. I love that. When you first introduced that through IAW, I'm like, oh, that's cool. We since shared it too, by the way.
Oh, that's awesome. I didn't know that. Thank you. The fire goals is it's really about how do we, like I talked about, it's about how do we do something when we don't feel enough? How do we do that when we don't know how, when we feel like I don't know if I'm ready, like you talked about. So it is an acronym. I'm all about acronyms. I think they help us to remember. And the F in fire goals stands for focus. It's a focus of not just our short-term goal. Like, I'm going to write a book for 15 minutes every day, which is one of my fire goals, that when I was writing my book, wherever it is.
Yep.
But it's also about the long-term perspective. And that's really what we're talking about. When we're talking about remembering our who, that's a long-term perspective, right? We're remembering who we are and the goals that we have that are deep in our soul. Now the I, this is so important, Michelle and Amy. And
I love this one.
This one's make or break, man. This is why I did not accomplish goals before I knew about this. And this is why I could actually write my #1 best-selling book. It's because of this one aspect. And what it is incentive. We have to have an incentive. When we're going to do something hard, we got to have a fire lit under our butts. We actually
What's my reward for getting this done, right?
Exactly. And what's my consequence if I don't? I'll tell you. I'm very
much the consequence word.
I know. But it's good to know both, like have a reward and something that will push you to do what you need to do. The R stands for responsibility. And really it's a responsibility for ourselves to know that I have a responsibility to do this for not just me, my future, but the people I'm going to help. And also a responsibility to the divine. I want to be really clear. When I dive into somebody's story and they're on a purpose-driven message, at some point, there will be a divinity that is guiding them. And usually they'll know the moment that they experience that. The E stands for exact time. Someday is not a day on the calendar. And I know so many people talk about that. It's kind of cliche, but it's true. If we don't pick the exact day and the exact time that we're going to do it, then it's really challenging to do it. So when I started writing my book, I'll give you a quick example. I said, I'm going to write in my book you got to remember, just a reminder, I had a baby and a toddler and a preteen, and I didn't even have a blog that was sustainable. So I was starting from scratch. Writing was new to me. And so I said, I'm going to write in my book for 15 minutes a day. I'm going to do it at 6:30 in the morning when people should be sleeping, but usually weren't.
Yeah, you're not. You're in the closet, right? With the laundry.
Yes. When I did it, I got to, I can't even remember. My incentives changed. Sometimes it was like, as soon as I do it, I got to have a shower, or I got to check my email, or I got to have my favorite smoothie instead of the one that's like 90% kale. So
you get chocolate in it or something. That's funny, Connie.
When I heard this way of describing goals, the incentive one, game changer for
Mhm.
me, because I'm so used to putting the boot on my own throat of like, you must, and like jamming goals down my own throat. This was like, wait, what? Are you mean I can like have a carrot at the instead of a stick? Are you kidding me?
Mhm.
And we did this with a client, and she immediately was like, she's like, oh, I'm good at rewarding myself, and I'm going to do this, and it was like, that is so beautiful. I loved it. I absolutely loved the idea of incentive baked in. So cool.
It's so cool. It is. It's so cool. It's funny. The exact time I got out of our coaches, we were talking, and somebody was asking, well, what did you do today? What was your goal for this week? Did you actually get it done? And he's like, then the follow-up question is, well, have you set a time to get it done? No. And then the coach says, well, we're positioning you for a difficult conversation. Right? Oh my gosh. Yeah. There we go. Exact time. But the incentive allows us to look forward to something, I think, right? Even if it is a small thing as I'm going to have this amazing smoothie, right? And then if I don't do it, then I have to eat kale or whatever. That's funny.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And it's so true. And Amy, when you talked earlier about sometimes we don't reward ourselves enough. And Michelle, I'm sure you can identify with this too.
Yeah,
like sometimes
sure.
we can be driven and go, okay, go from one goal to the next goal to the next goal. And it allows us to stop for a moment and take a deep breath and have gratitude for the work that we did and the inspiration we received. It's a powerful process.
I love that. Connie, how do people find you for the story? If they want to get their story through you, how do they do that?
Yeah, so they can, I would love to connect. So I actually have a free training that people can access. It's just right on my website. And I can give that to you as well. And I also have where people can apply to actually get your hidden story told. And I'm telling you, it's such a powerful process. You can get that by going to myfirewithin.com/discover. Again, that's myfirewithin.com/discover. And I would love to support you in finding that beginning of your hidden story. It changes everything.
Excellent. I just posted that. It only goes, I don't know why LinkedIn doesn't let me to post, but Facebook let me post and YouTube let me post. So I posted it there. LinkedIn needs some work. I don't know what they're doing.
We'll clean it up later, something.
Yeah, right.
Whatever.
Any other tips, tricks, suggestions that you have for people as they're setting goals? And I mean, this has been fantastic. Anything else you want to share, Connie?
I just want to say that when I say that we're at a tipping point in history as humanity, I truly believe that. And if you've been listening to this conversation and you resonated with something that Michelle said, something that Amy said, something that I said, and you resonated with that idea that you've got something bigger to do in this life, and it's this impression, this idea that won't go away, I promise you need to follow that. Not just for yourself, but for the people that will come after you, the people that are waiting for the solution that you have. So please, for all of our sakes, take that next step. Take that next step towards your goal, because we're waiting for you. The world is
awesome.
waiting.
That is beautiful, Connie. Oh, I love you. You're amazing. Thank you so much for doing this today.
Thank you.
So we will touch base with you, and I think we're done. So you all have a fantastic day.
Thank you, Connie. You're amazing.
Thanks, Connie.
Thank you.
Bye, ladies.
Bye.